We got to talk about my guy Bill Belichick, man. It's sad. Sad day right now in college football with the egg, and it's not even Easter, that Bill Belichick dropped last night. I mean, they got smoked. Okay, and the question we have is the Bill Belichick era at UNC North Carolina over before it began? Zach, the mic is yours.
All right, so here's the complicated thing about the sport we know and love of football. There are only 17 to 18 games each season, right? No other sport is like that. You play 162 regular season games in baseball. You play 82 games in the regular season in the NBA. But in the sport of football, your team is only playing once a week. So the question a lot of times that I have trouble with is, how much do you overreact to one game? Like, I was watching college football all weekend, and I was someone that thought Alabama was going to win the SEC. After that game against Florida State, I'm not too confident that's going to be the case, and I'm wondering just how poorly this season could go for them, and that's only after watching them one time for 60 minutes. Same thing for LSU. Could they win the national championship after that game and the way they played at Clemson? They might. Does Arch Manning stink? He did against Ohio State, so how much do you take into that? Like, there are just so many questions you got to ask yourself after only watching one game. And look, Bill Belichick took over a pretty bad situation at North Carolina. He has 70 new players, a completely new coaching staff. This is the first game he's ever coached as a head man in college football. I think TCU is a very good team. That could be a sleeper and could make some noise this year. Like there are a lot of factors going against him. And I do think ultimately it's going to get a little bit better than what we saw last night. How could it not? But Will, I got to tell you, like, to me, the most alarming thing, and I know this might sound crazy, but like, this Jordan Hudson is really concerning me. Like, what is she doing on the sideline talking to him during the game? What is she doing in the offseason in interviews, basically telling him what to do and what he can and can't talk about? Bill Belichick is the greatest coach in the history of the NFL for my money. He won 6 Super Bowl championships in New England. He drafted Tom Brady and ultimately helped develop him into the GOAT. He won Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator with the New York Giants. His resume cannot be taken away from him. But this whole 25-year-old girlfriend is a problem. And I'm not trying to make jokes. Like, it's a huge distraction. Bill Belichick was anti-distraction. That was everything he tried to turn down in New England. Cutting players, being ruthless when they were bringing something or unnecessary attention to the Patriots. But now he's his own worst enemy, having this Jordan Hudson walking around the facility. Like, no other college coach has this issue. And I'm really not trying to overreact, but I'm concerned. My ultimate question is, at the end of the day, it is North Carolina football. It's not like he took over as the head coach of Alabama. It's not like he took over as the head coach of Texas. Like, I think this question really depends on what exactly your expectations are. I think I'm just trying to figure out, like, what exactly is a successful season for North Carolina? If they make a bowl game this year and go 7-5, is that going to be something their fans feel good about? I'm not sure. I do know last night was very disappointing, and I do know that I'm very concerned about this girlfriend of his because she's just a huge distraction.
Yeah, she is. And I wish that Bill Belichick, the way how Bill Belichick has adapted to younger women, and obviously being in the market for a younger woman, a woman that's like 3 times less his age or whatever. I wish he would apply that same logic when it comes to adapting to the modern game. You know, when it comes down to, leaving old tricks behind. Okay, being a dog with new tricks in his bag. You have the same coordinators that have played out Freddie Kitchens. Okay, old guys. The familiar band, the Sun. Calling the plays defensively. I mean, it's time for Bill Belichick to embrace new. And to some extent, some people will say that's what this move was, right? Going to North Carolina, embracing something different. But he still took his old bag of tricks. And when you look at this game, Zach, you can't really paint a more embarrassing debut for Bill Belichick than it was last night. North Carolina was obliterated. All right, we talking about 554 or 542 yards on them that TCU ran and passed for total yards. Okay, domination on their own home turf on national television. And I'm watching all this, Zach, and I'm seeing Matt Patricia as a DC for Ohio State a guy that came from the Bill Belichick tree, putting on a coaching clinic, okay, holding this overhyped prospect and Arch Manning. Oh, he's Peyton Manning, Eli Manning 2.0. Oh, no. 170 yards on 17 of 30 passing for one touchdown and interception. Okay, he was put in the blender to remember by Mr. Matt Patricia, Mr. Pencil in his ear, who came from who? Who came from where? Bill Belichick's coaching tree. And he's, making his name worthwhile again. And Bill Belichick is out here getting demolished by TCU, an unranked football team. I mean, you look at it, post-Tom Brady had issues developing quarterbacks. And again, you look last night, you look at the quarterback Lopez do a pick six, bad read. Okay, had a couple bad passes. He only threw the ball 10 times in the entire game. TCU was just able to have their way on both sides of the ball, defensively, offensively. Kevion Barnes had 11 rushes for 113 yards and 2 and a touchdown. I mean, this is not like Bill Belichick. Maybe the Bill Belichick that we saw in his last days in New England, but at least he had a respectable effort on defense. I mean, they was getting dominated on both sides of the ball. It was embarrassing. And look, I'm not trying to question his legacy. His legacy has nothing to do with what's going on right now. It's already set in stone. When you come to North Carolina, you realize that there's new expectations. The game of the NFL and college is totally different. Talent is different. And the NFL talent is pretty much, all over. Okay, every team has some type of talent. In college football, you're dependent on your academic standards. Okay, you're dependent on NIL. You're dependent on the recruiting aspect. So, and think about it. Like you said, what are we expecting from North Carolina? We're talking about a program that has not had a successful history. We're talking about a program that, basketball-wise, Michael Jordan, basketball-wise, Roy Williams, a rich history on that side of the turf. But when you come back to the football turf, haven't won a conference title since 1980, or 4-12. It's 4-12 in bowl games since 2000. So again, what are we expecting here? And that's why when this move happened, I never bought into the hype. I said that why Bill Belichick went over here. I'm not expecting nothing over there. Okay, I'm just expecting to be entertained. And even though I wasn't entertained last night, we are talking about it on this show because it was a domination. So to answer the question outright before I end my lap, is Bill Belichick era at UNC over before it began? Well, it depends on how you look at it and your perspective, but it's not good.
You think he's a one and done or no?
I think he'll come back for another year. It really depends on what he's searching for, because I try not to get too philosophical, but I'm looking at Bill Belichick and I'm seeing his personal life and who he's dating, which is a girl, again, 3 times less his age. I'm not sure what he's coaching for now. Is it to show that I am still a great coach without Tom Brady? Is it to show the NFL that you guys did me dirty by not giving me another opportunity? Is it for the love of the game, right? Is it because I still want to coach? What is he coaching for? What drives him at this age? And I don't know that answer.
Yeah, I think also too, his son is the defensive coordinator, and he was actually, I believe, named the head coach in waiting. So after Belichick leaves, it's looking like there's a good chance.
It could be setting up the family. It could be a reason, like I want to set up my boy. It could be that too.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will say, I do think he is pretty committed to the job. Like when he first took it, I thought, okay, maybe he wants to go to North Carolina for a year or two, and if he has some success, immediately jump right back into the NFL. And maybe that's still the case. But I think he's locked in. Like he's committed. He's definitely trying. Like he wants to win. He's recruiting pretty well. And look, he has a completely new roster. So that's not something easy. Like we saw Coach Prime at with Deion Sanders, ironically beat TCU in the same situation, basically with a completely new team in his first game. But he had, no matter what you think of Shedeur Sanders, like he had an NFL quarterback starting for him. He had the ultimate eventual Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter suiting up for him that game as well. It's not like North Carolina really has those guys. Brian Kelly, his first year at LSU, he made the SEC championship game, but he recruited some guy named Jaden Daniels out of the transfer portal and brought him in. I don't think North Carolina has a guy like that on this team right now. So I'm curious to see how the season goes. I think one thing going in his favor is that the schedule is pretty easy. They do have a home game against Clemson, which is obviously going to be pretty big, but they didn't look too impressive this past weekend. They might not be as good as I originally thought. You look at some of the other top teams in the ACC. They don't play Miami. They don't play Florida State. They don't play Louisville. They don't play SMU. So the schedule is not too bad. And I do think TCU is a really good team. So we'll see if they could recover. But I just think it depends on your expectations. If you were expecting Bill Belichick to come in and ultimately get this team to the college football playoff, I don't think that's happening. But I think North Carolina with the hire, the number one priority for them was just to make their football program relevant again, something it hasn't really been in the last decade or so. And hey, despite how ugly last night's game was, I do agree. The fact that we are even talking about North Carolina football, it's a win for them.
I agree. And we could leave that there.